Okay, please be seated in the court. Members of the jury, we had passed the witness for cross-examination before our lunch break, so you may proceed when ready, Mr. Goss.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Torres, my name's Jason Goss. I know that you were a ranger and you retired, you said, a while ago, a little bit ago.
In 24.
And now you work for the State Department over in Honduras.
Yes.
Okay, so the only thing I don't know necessarily is I would normally call you Ranger, but it sounds like that's not your title. Do you have a different title that I could call you?
No, sir.
So, Mr. Torres?
I'll work.
Okay, thank you. I guess I kind of want to start where Mr. Turner left off, which was, and I'm not going too far in depth with this Hellfire trigger, or this Hellfire system for the gun, but I do kind of want to explain, because I think a lot of people would assume that if you have something on the gun that modifies it, as you said, that allows, for the gun to fire more rounds than each pull of the trigger, right? That's what the Hellfire is supposed to do.
Correct.
Fire more rounds out of the gun faster than even a human could pull the trigger. Make it more like an automatic.
Correct.
Okay, so I think a lot of people would assume that would be a part of the gun. Do you know what I mean? And so why would it be found in a separate location? Do you know what the mechanics of that is?
I know you put it behind the trigger, and as long as you press it the correct way, it'll just make the trigger bounce faster and fire like an automatic weapon.
Got it. So it sounds like what you're saying is this is kind of something that, like a scope or like something else that's added to the gun, but not necessarily affixed to it. It can be taken on and off
Yes.
easily. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And that's something that presumably he would have been able to buy at any firearm shop, or is it illegal or is it legal as far as you know?
It's legal.
It's legal. So, and as you probably know, modifications like that allow people and monsters really like him to do the kind of things that he did. Shoot a lot of rounds in a small amount of time.
Yes, sir.
Now I want to talk about I want to kind of go to the, I guess 319, 320, and 321. Could I get those put up? 319 through 321? Thank you. Oh, yeah, see the exhibits. Where are the exhibits?
They're right there on the corner.
All of these?
Yeah. It's on the little-
Got it.
I could tell you that there, I'm looking for the pictures of the hole that was in 111 that was going, I guess, going out.
Thank you. And yeah, Mr. Torres, I have to do that because they have all the exhibits here, but they have them in a PowerPoint here, and I don't have them in a PowerPoint the way that they do. So I'll ask them to help me out on that. So looking at, I think this is 319. We talked about this being the east side of the building. Judge, may I approach?
Yes.
Did you take that photograph?
No, I did not.
Okay. Which is fine. Were you ever outside the building?
No.
Okay. Well, I'm not necessarily going to ask you about that, but you are, I guess, familiar with the east and the west side of the building.
Yes.
Okay. So this is the west side of the building. The northwest side is where the shooter entered. The south side, there's an entrance there, right? And so if you were looking at that picture, we would be looking at this side of the building. the east side, right?
Correct.
That I'm pointing at. Now, there are, on this diagram, this is State's Exhibit 3. I'm sorry, 1. Is it 1 for demonstrative? Okay, there's 1. State's Exhibit 1. So these would be 111 and 112, the two classrooms where the shooter entered and was firing weapons. Now, you didn't process 112 at all.
No.
And so 111, if we're looking at this, this would be on the, of these two X's, can you see these two X's?
Yes.
Okay. It would be the one on the right.
Correct.
Okay. Now, the window that we're looking at, you talked about how you saw a defect that appeared to you as if it was fired inside and out. Did you say that? From inside the roof to outside. Not somebody firing from outside of the building into room 111.
Are you talking about the bottom picture?
Yeah, can we go to, I guess, the next picture up in the exhibit? We get a look. I'm sorry, yeah, the next picture down, the next one where I think it's 1, and then can we go to the next one? That one. That window and that defect. Did you see the defect inside? Did you?
The bullet hole?
Yeah, the bullet
Yes.
hole. Yeah,
Yes.
bullet hole in the window.
Yes.
Right. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
You saw that. You saw that bullet hole from inside.
Yes.
And you felt like the bullet was going from in the room to out of the room. Or do you not know?
I don't know. No.
Okay.
No.
Did you, as any part of the investigation, because I know that, because at the time you were a ranger, and the rangers were all over the place, you would agree.
Yes.
And we've heard from, I think you're maybe the sixth ranger that we've heard from. You guys were, over the course of days, you guys were collecting evidence, photographing evidence, doing all those things to process this scene, right?
Correct.
And at the end of all of this, a lot of your findings went into a pretty large, kind of comprehensive report about what happened.
Correct.
And did you read that report?
No, sir.
You never read the report?
No.
Did you read your own report?
Yes.
Because you wrote it.
Yes.
Okay. So, as far as, I guess, anything that you know about this case, was there ever any evidence that you heard of anybody on this side of the building firing into 111?
I didn't get that brief. We were just briefed with room 111.
Sure, I understand. But are you completely, like, other than what you saw in room 111, you don't know anything else, any other facts about this case?
No.
Well, let me ask you about that, because when we talked about 111, you kept saying that was the closet the shooter was in.
Yes.
But the shooter wasn't there when you got there.
No, sir.
Okay. So you would have had to know by some other information other than you looking at 111 that that was the closet that the shooter was in.
Correct.
Okay, so that's what I'm asking. Do you have any other information other than what you saw in 111 about this case?
We got the brief on room 111, and that's the only brief I got. So that's how I found out that the shooter was in the closet.
I understand.
But
But part of the brief on 111 is the brief would be that we believe that bullet hole went from in the room and out rather than out the room and in, because that bullet hole is a part of 111. You agree with that?
Correct.
So you got a brief on 111.
Yes.
And the part of the brief was that we believe that it was a shooter shooting out of that window, not a shooter shooting inside that window.
No, sir.
Okay,
That was not part of the brief.
Okay, nobody told you about that.
No.
Did you? Well, let's just assume it. Let's assume it's going from inside the classroom to out, right? Because you would agree if there was no other evidence that anyone ever fired any kind of rounds over here, which there would be if they fired rounds from that little courtyard area into that classroom, there would be, shell casings and things like that, right?
Correct.
So there's no other evidence of that, but we have tons of evidence that there was firing inside that room, obviously. Let's assume that it's from inside the room and out, okay?
Okay.
Now, when you're doing like a ballistics, right? So I say ballistics, but it's really like trajectory rods.
Yes.
You've been trained how to do that.
Yes.
Were you the one that put these trajectory rods in there on this scene?
No.
Or did you just photograph?
I just photographed.
All right. In other scenes, have you been the one to do the rods and somebody else photographs it?
Yes.
Okay. So you're aware of how that works. You're aware that a lot of times, not all the time,
but a lot of times you would need kind of 2 points.
Yes.
Because if you get those 2 points, you could tell that it went from this point to this point, and that gives you a trajectory.
Correct.
Right. Sometimes you don't have 2 points, but the way it fits in, we kind of heard, the way it fits in can tell you something about it, maybe.
Yes.
But it's a little less accurate because you never can tell if it fit in like this a little bit or like this a little bit. You know what I mean? You can't tell with the angle unless it's just a completely tight fit. You would agree with that?
Correct.
Because if it's just a loose hole, you don't know which way that the rod went unless you have another one to connect it.
Unless you have another impact.
Right,
Yes.
another impact. And so that's, maybe I'm not explaining as good, but I think you are. So, we have 1 point, we have 2 points. In addition to the rods, have you ever used any kind of laser? To take a laser, put it through a hole like that, and then see if it lines up with any defect on the outside or somewhere else?
Correct.
You've done that before?
Yes.
So you're familiar with it?
Yes.
Okay. Did you do it on this?
No.
So if you didn't do it and you have the 111 brief, do you know if it was done by anybody?
No, I don't.
Right. And what I mean by that is, for instance, you got a bullet hole in this room. You get a defect on this building. Could you, if you had wanted to, or somebody had asked you to, or somebody else there, take that laser system, shine it out of that hole, and see if it would have matched up with that?
Yes.
Right. Or see if it didn't.
Correct.
Because you can shine it through and go, no, I mean the laser, because the reason we use lasers is because lasers follow the path like a bullet does.
Correct.
Bullets tend to, unless they hit something, they fly straight and go down eventually when gravity ends up taking over.
Yes.
Right? So a laser could tell you, oh, that could work, that one wouldn't work. That's impossible, that's possible, or that's possible, or that's probable, or that's impossible. It could tell you those kind of things.
Yes.
Okay. And those lasers have pretty good range on them. If you can, they're powerful enough that they can kind of span distances. I mean, not infinite, but they can go pretty far.
Yes.
And I guess what you would see, like if I shined it right now, I mean, most of us all have seen this, but if I shined it right now, there'd be a dot on that wall up there.
Correct.
And what you'd be trying to do with that laser is kind of line it in with a hole like a rod and see, like, where's the laser shine.
Yes.
Again, it's not the exact same as having maybe the rods connected, but sometimes the distances are too far. You can't just build rods forever. If the distances are far, the laser's important.
Yes.
Okay. And that could be done with, if there were, I mean, kind of any time that you have a defect and then another defect that's a distance away, the laser can be used in order to see, either rule it out or say, yeah, it's possible that this is the round that caused that defect there.
Correct.
Okay. Now okay, so you talked about, because I wanted to get a little bit more information about the closet. Can we go to 322? And Your Honor, I'd just like to know, please, that I may be going through some of these photographs that I have objected to based upon the fact that they were gruesome and based upon the fact that they were unnecessary. But because the court has allowed it, I just want to put on the record that I'm going through it, but I'm not waiving the objection. So that it doesn't appear that I've waived it.
All right, go ahead.
Thank you, Judge. I'm going to talk about that for a little bit. Okay, so we're looking at, I think it's 322. Your Honor, may I approach the
Yes, sir.
television? Thank you. So we're looking at 322, and this is the door This is the door to 111, right?
Yes.
So this would be the like the outside door,
Correct.
right? This would be the door that that the students and then eventually the shooter would enter into.
Correct.
So right here on that door, that would be what looks like a door handle with an exterior lock, or a lock that you can lock and unlock with a key.
Yes.
All right. Did you, when you were processing, did you try to lock that door?
I believe we did.
Okay. And were you able to lock it?
I don't remember. I think since I wasn't messing with the door and I was just taking photos,
If you don't
I don't know.
feel comfortable saying, that's okay. I don't want you to say anything you don't feel confident about. We need to make sure that everything's as right as can be. But I guess, and the reason I'm asking the question is because you would agree, as part of law enforcement, and as long as you've been doing it. So what did you do before you were a Ranger?
I was in the Marines.
So you're a Marine, so you're military, thank you for your service, and then you were a Ranger.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you do any like military police or anything when you were in the Marines?
I was an embassy guard.
Embassy guard. So you were one of the people that if, in a foreign country, if somebody tried to attack our embassy, you would be the one to protect it.
Yes, sir.
Understood. So I guess you understand then with that experience, embassy guard, law enforcement, that door locks and locks on doors, especially in schools, can significantly hinder anybody trying to get in and cause mass casualty.
Correct.
And so you know that that our schools, almost all of our schools across this country, have developed policies that no matter what, during the day, at night, students are there, nobody's there, that door remains locked.
Correct.
Right. For their protection and their safety.
Yes.
And if the lock is not able to be locked, who's responsible for making sure that that lock is functional and is able to be locked?
I'm assuming whoever the teacher or maintenance,
Sure.
somebody there.
Yeah, I mean,
Whoever reports it, it has to be fixed.
right, you would agree. It starts probably with the teacher saying, my door won't lock, and then it goes work order, maybe goes to the administration, goes to the maintenance people, whatever else. But what you said is, and I agree with you, is that it is of primary importance for safety that lock is functional.
Yes.
Right? Because a shooter, like in this case, a shooter, if they are delayed in getting in or cannot get in, that can give other units time to respond.
Yes,
And
sir.
perhaps do something before he's able to get in the room. Right?
Correct.
Okay, so in your law enforcement training and experience, have you ever heard of something called a fatal funnel?
Yes.
Okay, what is a fatal funnel?
When you're involved in a critical incident and you basically lose your peripheral vision and you focus on one thing.
Right, sure. Then that's like and you're talking about kind of getting tunnel vision, but at some point, if you're trying to get into a door or a hallway,
Oh, yes.
right, then what does that do? For instance, let's say multiple law enforcement, multiple officer response. Can five of me standing here get through that doorway at the same time?
No, sir.
Because it funnels us in one by one.
Correct.
Maybe two by two if you're lucky and the door is wide enough. So a lot of times that can be somebody with a shield and people behind, or just people running in one by one
Yes.
into a door. And that's why law enforcement, they call that a fatal funnel, because if somebody's set up and ready, pop, 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 they can just knock down everybody that comes in as they come in.
Yes.
Okay. Now, can we go to that second? When they gave you, and this second picture will be 362. And I don't know, in your brief on classroom 111, where you briefed that blood we see on the ground, that was the blood of the shooter. And that was his positioning after the BORTAC team went in and a tactical team went in and shot and killed him.
No.
You didn't know that was his blood.
No, I did not.
You didn't know that was his position.
I knew that. I did not know that was his position.
Like his ending up position.
Correct.
After he died.
I did not.
Your Honor, may I approach the television?
Yes.
Okay, but in being in that room, and one of the things, and I'm not saying that you first of all, you took pictures and you did a good job kind of going around the room, and also I know it's hard for you to take those pictures. It's hard for everybody to see. And we appreciate that you did it, you did your job. This closet here, remember that door that we talked about, the outside door we were talking about, the lock?
Yes.
Right. If we open that door, that's basically a view from opening that door. This closet is directly across.
Yes.
Right. And you know from your briefing that the shooter was in the closet when they got in there.
Yes.
Did you know also that he was in the closet with the door closed?
No.
Did you know that as they breached, it was dark, and the door opened, and the shooter?
This is all based on hearsay.
Well, we're going to have everybody testify to it, and I'm not saying anything that they know that they think is untrue.
It's still based on hearsay, Your Honor.
Well, sir, if you know, you can answer. If you don't know of your own personal knowledge, then tell him that, okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you said you did not know that. Did you know that the room was dark when they went in?
No.
Okay. Were you aware of a policy in the schools for the safety of the children that the teachers and the children are trained on, that when there is a shooter and they get an alert that there's a shooter on campus, that they are to go in, turn off all the lights, be quiet, and hide?
Yes.
Okay. So if it was dark when they came in, it would not be a surprise, because any teachers and students following that training would have turned all the lights off, been quiet, and hid.
Correct.
Right, okay. So this door, as we talked about in this little closet, is directly across from the door that we entered into. Okay. And in your briefing on room 111, were you briefed that this was the shooter's homeroom when he was in 4th grade?
No.
Okay, you didn't know that.
No, sir.
Right. Because if you had known that, or if anybody in law enforcement in that position had known that, and had known who the person was before they get into school or whatever else, or even when they're outside the school, that gives a little bit more information about maybe where he's headed. Not just randomly going into a room, but going into a room that he knows. Right?
Correct.
And that's important, because if that was his home room.
Objection, Your Honor. He's testifying. He's not asking questions.
It's cross-examination. I'll overrule the objection.
Because if that was his home room in 4th grade, then he would know, just like any student there would know, that closet was there. Right?
Correct.
If that was your homeroom or mine, and we remembered our homerooms from 4th grade, we would know the positioning if it hadn't changed, and the building hasn't changed since he was in 4th grade. But we would know that that's there. Now, a shooter who is perched there can create a fatal funnel at the entrance of that classroom.
Yes.
Right. Were you aware when you were briefed that when the BORTAC unit, that's the Border Patrol Tactical Unit, went in, basically, what they did was they tried to do like a diversionary entry, where they came in and tried to distract at the same time as they were shooting, right? To try to figure out, because you got to figure out where the shooter is in the classroom.
Yes.
And it turned out he was here. They had to draw fire to do that. Were you briefed on that?
No.
Okay. Were you briefed on the fact that Wayne Jackson from the BORTAC unit was shot in the head by the shooter?
No, sir.
Okay. So, and that's because if you're on a stick, as they call it, you got to be on a stick, because there's the fatal funnel and you can't all fit at the same time. You go into the classroom and go to the side, and Wayne Jackson is at the very end, and he gets hit in the head, and it turns him around. You didn't know that?
No, sir.
Okay, so it's safe to say that this shooter is a mass child murderer who wants to be a cop killer. You would agree with that?
Possible?
Based on those facts?
Yes.
As I gave it. And this shooter is, because a shooter in a mass shooting, you said you worked several,
a shooter in a mass shooting can kill themselves, right? That's something that has been done and can be done. A shooter can turn the gun on themselves.
Yes.
They can, continue to kind of roam around in the classroom and aimlessly maybe, or, doing stuff or saying stuff, or they can walk around the classroom with their gun. They can do that, right?
Yes.
Okay. They can try to escape if they can figure out or try to find a way to get themselves out, so they can commit the shooting and do this horrible, tragic, terrible thing and then escape the consequences of it. They can try to do that.
Yes.
By getting out a window, or even maybe trying to come through the door and shoot their way out, or whatever else, right?
Correct.
But in this case, after he had committed his atrocities, he got in a closet and waited for the police to come in so that he could try to kill them, based on all the facts that you have.
Correct.
Okay. So he's a mass child murderer who wants to be a cop killer, and luckily for Officer Jackson, it hit him in the top of the head, spun him around, but didn't kill him. But had it done that, he would have been both a mass child murderer and a cop killer, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we could take that picture. So like you said you were trained on a Leica 3D scanner,
Yes.
and one of those things is with a Leica is that right, and we say Leica, and but I think Leica is a brand name.
It's a brand name. Yes.
Right. What's it called? What's the generic name for a Leica scanner? If you even know, I've always said Leica, but one of the other rangers said that there was a system that was out there. It was called a Total View or something. But you've been trained on Leica.
Yes. Well,
Okay.
3D, it's a 3D scanner.
So let's talk about Leica.
Okay.
And 3D scanner. Judge May used to well.
Yes.
So we have a, just so they know, and Gary explained it a little bit, but it's a tripod, usually.
Yes.
The scanner sits on, scans an area, and can tell you, one of the most important things it tells you is distances between things at the scene,
Yes.
right? And sometimes it may not be necessary, like you didn't do a Leica scan in 111.
No.
Right. And you wouldn't do that because the room was connected to 112 through I guess there was a door, kind of an open door, that I suppose could be shut. But those two, you could pass from 111 to 112.
Yes.
Yeah. And somebody else had the brief for 112.
Yes.
Okay. So just in general, though, because I know you didn't have the briefer out here. I'm not going to try to take you too far afield. But just in general, in your forensics training, like a Leica scanner for, say, in this field, and in this area, this area, this area, this area, this area, that would tell distances between shell casings, between cars,
Yes.
between car and a building, right? Between entrances, between these cars in the parking lot. All of those things, a Leica pretty quickly would be able to scan it, get 1 million points of data, and then that's how it ends up. Is we could end up saying, well, this is 15 feet from this, or this shell casing is 10 feet from this shell casing, and this shell casing is 50 feet from that one, right?
Correct.
All right. So when we talk about this area here, and I want to talk about shell casings and shell casing collection. Have you ever been part of this, Gary, what was that called, the line that they do?
Line search.
Line search. You ever been part of a line search?
Oh, yes.
Right? And you say that like yes, of course, and I've done it a lot.
Yes.
Right. So in this case, the FBI did a line search.
They do a line search all the way out here, all here, looking for shell casings, right? And so the way they described it is, everybody's in a line.
Objection to comparing testimony to other witnesses, Your Honor.
That's not, I don't think that's an objection, and he's been proffered as an expert by the state.
I don't really objection. Go ahead.
So they walk in a line, and then, I see something. Everybody stops, flag, and do that. Is that your experience the same way?
Yes.
Have you ever had to go on your hands and knees?
Yes.
And what would the reason for that be?
High grass, weeds.
Sure. You can't necessarily trust if you're standing all the way up. You can't trust your ability to maybe see something, so you get down lower to the ground.
You get down over the ground. I mean, you can use flashlights as well.
Right. Sure. And so it's you would agree that it's a thorough search is what you're trying to do.
I would add another search. I mean, a different technique.
Which
That's what I would- in the past, I've used ATF canines that are specifically trained to look for shell casing, burnt gunpowder.
Right.
And yes.
And that's interesting because you'd have like the canine that we see at the airport that is, and maybe sometimes at a traffic stop, hopefully not, but sometimes, that is trained to detect drugs, right? Cocaine. And those dogs that are trained to detect cocaine are, like, that's what they do. They detect cocaine. There's other dogs that are trained to detect bombs, and that would be really not, here's a bomb. What they're trained on is they're trained on the things that make up bombs.
Yes.
C4, other things like that would go into the bomb making if somebody were to do that. And then you have other animals like you talked about, these canines, that are highly trained to detect the scent of gunpowder, which would be on a shell case. Right?
Yes.
Okay. So let's assume that all the search is done the way that you feel should be done. And there are, if you look at this, I don't know if you got this from your brief, but I'll just tell you because this is the state's map.
Objection to just telling them, Your Honor. That's not a question.
Well, I'm
Can
just
you rephrase it, please?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm just trying to orient you because this is the state's map, and I don't know if you can see this red line. Can you see this red line here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is the state's map, and this is the shooter's path, and this is the culvert where he wrecked, right, at the start of this thing. Can you see that red X?
Yes.
Okay. So, a path that takes him the way that this path takes him, if shots are being fired along this path, they're being shot here, 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 here. All things considered, as an investigator, would you expect to find shell casings? Assuming they weren't picked up, assuming that they weren't moved, but a shooter shooting, as he goes this way, would you expect there to be evidence of shell casings to the right of where the shooter was?
It would depend on how he's holding the weapon.
Sure.
So he can be holding it sideways,
Right.
and the shell casing going straight up in the middle. So
Right.
they can bounce either way.
But I guess to go left, to start ejecting out from the left, he would have to be holding it upside down. If the ejector port is on the right side of the gun, when the gun's right side.
Yes.
Right. So it would require somebody holding an M4 upside down and shooting to get ejection coming out the left side.
It's possible. I mean, it all depends on how the person was holding the gun. I mean, that's just a big variable.
And I agree with you. It's a big one. But we can say ejector port to the right, shell casing go to the right.
Right.
Right. Well, this is upside down, and then it would eject out to the left.
Right.
Not a common way to
No.
use an M4, right? Maybe here to the side, up, and the power is making it go up. But either way, all of this we're talking about, right or left.
Right.
You'd expect them to be somewhere around here.
Yes.
If you were shooting around here. Okay. And shell casings that are here and here would be consistent with this, even from their own map, would be consistent with somebody firing along this route and this route.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Judge, I'll pass it.
Mayor, to be exposed to a fatal funnel, do you have to go to the fatal funnel?
Yes,
If you don't approach the fatal funnel, you're not exposed to a fatal funnel.
correct.
I couldn't see because I was sitting right directly behind Mr. Goss. He was talking about the shot coming from 111. Could you point that out, just in general terms, about what that we're talking about? Your fingers there on the east side of the wing. And then he was talking about a building that it could have gone to. That building there?
Yes.
Okay. Just want to make sure I understand that.
Bill, you gonna have any?
I'm sorry?
Are you gonna have anything else?
That's it.
Okay, thank you.
And when you were the crime scene worker in this case, you picked up casings, correct? And fragments of bullets or bullets,
Yes.
and defects.
Yes.
And what's a defect?
Where a round makes an impact on an area, or a desk, a wall.
That's pretty standard stuff, right? If a bullet hits something, it leaves an impact and you can see it.
Yes.
And have you ever known a bullet to go through a solid object without leaving an impact?
Correct. No.
Okay. Pass the witness.
Just, as far as approaching the fatal funnel, all law enforcement is taught to be very cautious about a fatal funnel because a dead police officer doesn't help anybody, right?
Correct.
I mean, one police officer after another going in and dying and stacking up in front of that door is not going to save any of those children.
We're taught to get away from the fatal funnel.
Right. I'll pass it.
No further question.
Recall for this witness, either side.
Your Honor, this witness is out of country. I hope we can let it go.
Yes, Your Honor, and I do understand that. I don't want to keep him in, and I know he's got important work to do out of the country. So.
Your excuse, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Farina? May we approach as he's coming, Your Honor? Okay.
Come up, please. Would you raise your right hand? You do solemnly swear the evidence in the testimony given the cause will be the truth, so help you God.
I do. Yes.
All right. Have a seat over here. Adjust that microphone if you need to.
Tell us your name.
Brent Barina.
And what do you do, sir?
I'm a lieutenant with the Texas Rangers.
And how long have you been with the Texas Rangers?
I promoted in October of '08, so a little over 17 years.
What did you do before you were a Texas Ranger?
I was a highway patrol trooper for about 5.5 years, from 2000 to 2005, and then I worked in our criminal intelligence service for about 3 years before that, or after that.
So how long have you been in law enforcement?
Almost 27 years.
And do you have any specialties in law enforcement?
A crime scene investigation.
Were you called out to Uvalde on May 24, 2022?
Yes, I was.
For what purpose?
The interior, different sections of the interior of the crime scene, inside the building.
And did you also conduct searches or crime scene on outside of the building, specifically as to the room 24?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And that's the one I want to kind of focus on right now, if I could. Okay.
Okay.
What drew your attention to room 24?
Myself and Ranger Scott Swick had noticed that there were some cartridge cases flagged. I guess we would have been to the south of the main building where the shooting occurred, and it indicated that there might have been some shots fired towards building 24. So we went in that area and started inspecting some buildings in that area.
And so from the casings, you started looking for buildings in which those casings could have deposited bullet entry.
Correct. We were looking for structures that might possibly have a bullet defect on them.
And did you find any with a bullet defect on it?
We did, yes.
And how did you confirm that it was a bullet defect?
It visually looked like one, and then we use what we call 3M lead check. It's a swab that you can test for lead. It has a activator and a dye that mixes, and when it's swabbed onto a surface that has lead, it'll give a kind of a pinkish purple color reaction.
And did you document that?
Yes, I did.
Did you document it with photographs?
Yes, I did.
May I approach you?
Yes.
So in your exhibit 634 through 645, you recognize those exhibits?
Yes, I do.
State Tenders Exhibit 634 through 645, and offer for admittance.
No objection, Judge.
They're admitted.
May we display?
Yes.
Ranger, if you need the pointer to help you point things out for the jury.
Thank you.
Showing your state's exhibit 634, will you give us just a general description of what we're looking at?
Yeah, that's an overhead view showing the main building where the shooting was, and then down towards the lower right where the white roof is. That's classroom 24.
And would you point out classroom 24?
Your Honor, may I approach? Please. This will be classroom 24. This building here.
Thank you. And your testimony was you started from a point where there were a series of casings, is that correct?
It is correct, yes.
And you looked in a direction where that may leave an impact on a building.
Yes, correct.
So showing you exhibit 635. Can you tell us, is that generally where you were talking about? Excuse me. Can you tell us in general terms, is that the area where the casings were and the area you were looking for impact?
Yes, we were looking. They were in that general area, and then that's kind of where we started taking photographs towards building 24, looking for an impact, a defect in that direction.
Okay. And the red X, is that a place that shows where the photograph 636, the next photograph, general terms, where that photograph was taken?
It does, yes.
Well, you show 636. And looking at exhibit 636, can you tell us where the building is that you ended up searching or finding an impact?
Your Honor, may I approach? Yes. It would be this. It's this building right here, this tan building, just to the left of that Chevrolet truck.
And exhibit 637. What are we looking at now?
It's just as the photographer's walking forward closer to building or classroom 24.
So you just close in with your photographs until you get right up to it?
Exactly, yes.
And exhibit 638?
Yes, same building, just as we're getting closer to that building, photographing it.
And 639?
Same, now we're getting right up on it.
Okay. Did you find an impact?
I did, yes.
And what is the ladder there for?
It was a ladder I had that we used to get up to the height so we could photograph it and use the lead check swab to access that defect.
Okay. So that's the ladder you had to get to the impact?
Correct, it is.
And exhibit 640, would you tell us what that is?
That's us getting a little bit closer to it.
Okay. And I want to take just a minute while we're still out a little bit. Can you tell us the nature of that material that the building is made of?
Yes, it's a sheet metal.
And does the sheet metal have ridges or different ins and outs of that sheet metal?
Yeah, I refer to it as kind of corrugated. It has ridges and kind of peaks and valleys.
Okay. Point out for us where your ladder is. Point out to us a peak and point out us a valley.
Okay. You're on the map. I would consider this kind of a peak and then a valley on this side, valley peak.
So the peak is where the ladder two legs straddle it? Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
And then just to the right, there's another peak
Correct.
of the same size?
Yes, correct.
And to the left, is there another peak of the same size?
Yeah, it looks like where the conduit's attached to, yes.
And that pattern repeats itself all the way down the wall, is that correct?
It does, yes.
And so the peaks are raised and the valleys are lowered or further away.
That's correct, yes.
And not only, and is there an impact in Stakes Exhibit 640?
Yes, there is.
And is it in a peak or a valley?
It's in what I would call a valley, yes.
Okay. Would you show the jury again where the peak is?
Yes. The peak would be over here, and then the valley would be here.
The valley being recessed, about how far?
Maybe an inch, approximately an inch, something like that.
Okay. And did you point out the impact for the jury?
Yes, it would be this area right here.
And what you're holding is that what is that?
That's the 3M lead check that we use to test if it tested positive for the presence of lead.
Okay. And just to the left of that valley where the impact is, what is that?
It looks like a conduit, like a plastic piece of conduit pipe.
Can a bullet go through a piece of conduit like that without leaving an impact wound?
It could if it just kind of grazed it and skipped off of it. If it actually hit it straight on, it could go through it, or it could fragment.
Was there any impact on the left side of that conduit?
Not that I could clearly see. I mean, I can't rule out the possibility that it did impact that, and then the round fragmented, and then went through the surface, the metal surface.
I guess what I'm asking is, in your inspection of impacts, did a bullet travel through that PCV pipe and then enter that valley?
Not that I can tell. If it did hit the PVC pipe, it would have been on the edge closest to the impact site.
Excuse me, I didn't understand you.
I said if it did impact the PVC pipe, it would have, or the conduit, it would have been on the side closest to the impact site on the metal.
Would that be in the right-hand side?
Correct. Yes, correct.
So the only impact you saw at all was on the right-hand side of the PCV, you saw it at all?
That's correct. Yes.
Not on the left-hand side?
No.
So do you have an opinion as to whether or not a bullet came from the left-hand side through the PCV, into the valley, and then into the building?
Yes, my opinion would be that it may have possibly struck the right side of the conduit and then into the sheet metal.
But not the left side?
That's correct. Yes.
And so, are you familiar, if you'll use the pointer one more time, could you show us again where room number 24 is?
Right here.
And where is that impact site?
It's on this west side right here.
And then is room 111 back on the east side of the fourth grade wing?
It is, yes.
And so could a bullet coming out of room 111 make that impact without impacting the PCV pipe on the left-hand side?
In my opinion, no.
But could that same impact come from the position you saw the casings?
It could, yes.
And that's why you took pictures of it?
Correct, yes.
May I approach her? May I approach you?
You can be seated in the courtroom. Thank you. Okay, please be seated. Okay, again, we've taken a matter up outside your presence, ladies and gentlemen, so you may proceed. Mr. Turner?
After you found the defect in State's Exhibit 641 behind you, did you thereafter go inside room 24?
I did, yes.
And the State's Exhibit 642 show us the entry then into room 24?
It does, yes.
And tell us what we're looking at in Exhibit 643.
That's the entry door to classroom 24.
Yeah, 643.
That would be the interior. That would be facing the west wall, the same wall that the defect would have been on the outside.
And there's in the next exhibit, 644. What are we looking at here?
That's a close-up of us pointing the camera up through the ceiling tile, and you can kind of see the hole from the inside of the classroom.
And State's Exhibit 645.
That's us up into the ceiling, through the ceiling panels, getting a close-up of the interior side of that defect.
Thank you. Now, that was not all you did in the case, is that correct?
It's correct, yes.
And did you also have an opportunity to go into rooms 111 on that very first day?
I did, yes.
And at that time, were there still the remains of this shooting in that room?
Yes. When I got the time I got there, when I went to 111, the only body that was inside the 111 was the body of the suspect.
Okay. And does the body of the suspect show his relationship to his gun?
Yes, approximately, yes.
And does it show how he was dressed?
It does, yes.
So as to compare to eyewitnesses who may have seen a gunman?
Yes.
Going next to 734. And you can go ahead and go to 735 now. And I'll just ask you, we just saw 734. Is that a fair and accurate depiction of the man in black?
Yes, that's how I found him, yes.
And State's Exhibit 735, does that show him in relationship to a weapon?
It does, yes.
And would you show us where that weapon is?
On your honor, may I approach? The weapon, the rifle is right here in the closet on the back wall.
Okay. And about how far from his feet?
I'd say within less than 2 feet.
Okay. And moving now into room 112 from 111. No photographs. We have no photographs of that, but you did see it?
I did, yes.
You did observe it?
I did, yes.
And would you describe for the jury what you saw?
When you walk in the main entry door from the hallway, there was a lot of deaths that were kind of clustered up, scattered around, and then there was a concentration of deceased bodies kind of in that the northwest corner of the room.
A concentration of deceased bodies?
Yes.
And were they adults or children?
There was children and one adult.
One adult and children.
Yes.
And were they clustered away from the door?
Yes. If you were to walk in the entry door, they were to the left in that corner to your left.
And were they away from the windows?
They were, yes. They were on the opposite side of the room from the windows.
Pass the witness.
Is it Marina?
Yes, it is.
My name is Nico LaHood. I'm one of the lawyers representing Mr. Gonzalez. I'm going to ask you some questions.
Okay. Yes, sir.
You've testified for board.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
so
sir.
you know how this works.
Yes, sir.
So are you familiar with a Hellfire trigger system?
I'm not, no, sir.
Okay. You've never heard anything about it?
No, I heard briefly them talking about it. I wasn't responsible for those two classrooms as far as the crime scene processing, but I heard talk about it, but I'd never seen one or actually knew what it did. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
In your duties as a ranger, have you done any training in firearms?
I have done some, yes.
You understand that there's some things you can put on a trigger to make it move faster and shoot faster.
I have heard that. I don't have any experience with it though, but I have heard there are some things.
But you have done tactical training yourself?
It's limited. I'm not more on the tactical side. I'm kind of a crime scene guy. I've done some, but very, very limited.
Do you do trajectory analysis?
I do. Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, so as part of your experience in trajectory analysis, you have to understand how to handle a weapon, how it's shot, how it functions to actually give a better opinion of your assumptions you're making, right?
Yes.
Okay, and when it comes to trajectory analysis, other rangers have testified to this, it's really an educated guess of what you're trying to put together.
Well, there's a little margin of error, but if there's a perforating defect in the surface and then a secondary one, then that's a good candidate defect for a flight path rod, and it'll give you a good ballpark estimate of some location of the shooter. There's some margin of error.
Well, the fact that you said ballpark means that it's not exact science.
It's not exact. Yeah, there is a little margin of error. Yes, sir.
And well, other rangers said it's possible. They use a lot of words like possible, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we're talking about possibilities. Now, you've heard of a misfire. Have you heard of someone misfiring a weapon?
I have. Yes.
And misfiring a weapon has to do with trigger control. You understand what trigger control is, right?
I do. Yes.
Okay. So trigger control is making sure that your finger is in a safe position and not hovering inside the trigger guard, correct?
Are you referring to an accidental discharge or a misfire?
Well, okay, fair enough. Let's talk about accidental discharges
Okay.
then. Okay, what is indexing your finger on a weapon?
It's keeping your finger off the trigger.
May I stand up, Judge? Okay, so we don't have a blue gun, but I'm not going to ask for one of theirs. So there's a trigger in a weapon, and we're talking about a handgun first, and then there's a trigger guard around the trigger, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And then and this applies to a long rifle or a handgun, correct?
It does, yes.
And so when someone indexes, if law enforcement or if anybody training with a weapon is taught to index, you are taught to keep your finger outside the trigger guard. And if this is my trigger, I don't want to be in the trigger. I want to be outside the trigger guard.
Yes, if you're indexing, then your finger should not be in the trigger guard on the trigger.
And so trigger discipline references not being lazy about having your finger, because you hand a child a gun, they automatically, most people, even not children, will grab that handle and then put their finger inside the trigger guard.
I can't accurately say that, but that's
enough.
possible.
An untrained person with not proper trigger discipline could potentially do this.
That's possible, yes.
Okay. And so many people that are not trained well, they automatically put their finger in that trigger guard, and that could create as you said, a misfire or an accidental discharge.
Accidental discharge,
Okay.
yes.
And so there's no way for you to tell in your analysis of trajectory analysis whether somebody does an accidental discharge or whether it's an intentional discharge.
No.
Right. And so if we can we look at, I think, is it 636 and 637, the pictures you guys had? I think it's exhibit 636 and 637. Bill, do you have them? Or who does? He doesn't show it?
I was doing 7.
You don't have the number on it? No. Oh, got it. It is, can I see the ones you have, 636 and 637?
They're probably up there.
May I approach, Judge?
No?
The ones you showed him, Bill.
Oh, that's 700.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It's in the sixes.
Here they are.
636. Thank you. Okay, this is State's Exhibit 636 in evidence, but in the PowerPoint it's whichever one they have. So this is 636. You testified to this earlier to the government, correct?
I did, yes.
May I approach, Judge? And so I think kind of the question they were asking you they were trying to talk to you about the trajectory path from this place in the parking lot to building room 24. Do you remember those questions?
Yes, yes.
In a hypothetical, if somebody was intending from this west side, this is the west side of Robb Elementary,
Yes, I did.
and you know now that the murderer came in here and shot all the way up until he entered the building.
I do, yes.
And it's if somebody was approaching to shoot at that side of the building and had poor trigger discipline or just an eagerness to want to hurt people, they could have accidentally discharged as they were coming up and coming across to shoot at the west side of the building, correct?
Yeah, that's possible. The only thing I can say for sure is that there was one defect in that.
And that's my point. How many defects were there?
There was one.
One defect. So if somebody took the position that this murderer fired multiple rounds to the south side of the building over here, it would fair to say there should be way more than one defect.
Well, I mean, there's a possibility he could have fired over to the left or to the right. We just didn't find those defects. There's a possibility he could have fired more. All I found was one. So all I can say was there was at least one. There could have been more.
Well, whose responsibility was it to find if there were more?
I'm sorry?
Whose responsibility would it have been to find if there were more defects?
It was mine.
Okay. Did you find more defects?
Not in that classroom, no. Like I said, there could have been more that went out in the open air and landed in the ground somewhere way out there.
But at the time you found that one defect, you weren't told to look at room 24, correct? You were just looking for defects.
Yes, that's
right.
correct. Yes.
So you looked at all the buildings, did you not?
Yeah, in that line of sight, yes.
Right.
Yes.
And you could have looked behind the buildings too. I'm sure you looked behind.
We searched that entire area. Yes.
That entire area you searched.
Yes.
And you found one defect.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So back to my original question: if somebody made the claim that they were standing further down to the south side of the building, close to the east side, and that the murderer fired multiple shots at this person, you should have found more than one defect.
Well, I can't say that again.
Can we talk about probabilities?
Sure.
More likely than not, you should have found more defects.
It's probable, but again, like I said, there could have been where he shot over, depending on how he had the gun held, if he was, and what the angle of the barrel. So there's something could have went over. I can't say he fired multiple. All I can say was that for sure, and certainly was that there was one round fired in that direction. Is all I can say.
Well, one round went in that direction. It doesn't mean it was intended to go there, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so this, but what my question is, bullets don't just disappear, right?
I'm not sure your question.
Well, I mean, but if somebody, I gave this example to another ranger. On New Year's, we're told not to shoot guns up in the air, right? You've heard that safety announcement?
Yeah, sure.
Right? Why is that a foolish thing to do?
Because it could come down and hit somebody.
What comes down?
The projectile.
Right, they don't just disappear.
Right. Yeah.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
So if somebody shoots projectiles, multiple projectiles in this direction, there should be probably more defects than one.
Well, I mean, they could go over, and when they come down, they could end up inside the dirt, and we just don't see them. That's a possibility I can't rule out.
But bullets don't loop, do they?
Well, there's a parabolic. Once they come up, they're shot in a parabolic arc. So once they go over, they're gonna arc and come down. They could go into the ground.
If somebody's on the ground, if somebody makes the claim while they're on the ground that somebody shot at them from this angle multiple times, there most likely probably would be some defects on these buildings. Right?
There could be. Yeah, I mean, like I said, all I can certainly say is there was one. That's all I can say.
Just one.
Yeah. Anything else, I'd be speculating.
Okay. And I don't want you to speculate.
Yeah, I don't.
And so if somebody is intending to shoot this side of the building, and they had poor trigger discipline, and an evil intent to hurt people, they could get over anxious, and they could accidentally discharge up as they're coming across, because we know for sure there were many defects on this side, right?
Yes, there were.
Have you heard of a ricochet?
I have, yes.
Explain to the jury what a ricochet is.
Ricochet is where the projectile strikes the surface and then usually at a low angle, and then it ricochets off and continues its flight path past that point.
And so when a bullet hits an object, and when you do this in trajectory analysis, that's called an intermediary object, right?
You talking the surface it hits?
Yes, sir.
Yes, it
That's
is.
right. And then that bullet can do something else.
Oh yeah, yes, can.
Was there a laser trajectory done from the spot we're looking at in Exhibit 636 to that one defect?
There wasn't, because that defect was not a candidate to put a flight path rod in, because there wasn't a secondary or a defect for us to run a rod through and attach a laser to. So it wasn't a candidate for it.
Was not a candidate for,
Yeah,
okay.
yes, sir.
So was that defect on the higher part of the building or the lower part of the building?
It was on the higher part.
And so if somebody on the ground said that that shooter fired multiple shots at that person as they're on the ground, or at least standing on the ground, it's less likely that that defect would be high up on near the ceiling, near the roof, right?
It depends on how they were holding the weapon and what the angle of the barrel was.
I said multiple rounds, remember that? So there should be more than one defect.
Yeah, and again, all I can tell you is there was one. I didn't see any more than one.
Fair enough. Now we saw that picture of the suspect in Exhibit 734, I believe it was. You recall that?
I did, yes.
That person lying on the ground, and I'm not going to show that picture again.
Okay.
That picture of that animal lying on the ground, that person is the one responsible for stealing those children, right?
He is the one that shot him, yes.
Pass the witness, Judge.
Mr. Barina, Ranger Barina, the weapon the gunman was using, you're familiar with it?
I am, yes.
And the round that he was shooting?
Yes.
What's the distance on those? How far can they go?
I would say at least 150 meters.
150 meters? Okay. And if they strike the dirt, would you be able to find it?
Probably not.
And if they're shot over the building, would you be able to find it?
No, probably not.
And on that exhibit that's in front of you now, to the left of that building, could you tell us what it's composed of? To the right of the building, excuse me.
Where the fence is?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that was the air conditioning HVAC units.
No, I'm sorry. Would you approach? Let me go. This is where the building was struck. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
And all the way across here, what is this?
It's open field.
Is there any way you would recover a defect in an open field?
The probability would be very slim. No.
And if shot above the building 24, was there a defect there that would have been recoverable by you?
Can you repeat the first part of the question?
Shot above the building, would you have been able to recover a defect shot above the building?
If it went over and into the grass, no, the probability would be very low to recover that.
And to the right of the building, do we have open field also?
We do, yes.
And the same question about likelihood of recovery.
Yeah, it'd be a low probability, same likelihood, yes.
Absolutely.
When it comes back to our mad post, Judge, back to our hypothetical, if that same person that claims that the shooter from this position shot multiple rounds at them, and they're further down, you have this HVAC unit and all the fence that would be at the very least concealment, maybe even some cover for them, right?
For who?
Someone behind it, someone on the south side of the wall, I mean, of this building.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Right?
Yeah, it's possible, yes.
Well, I mean, it's not possible that's there. This is in the way.
Well, you talking about the HVAC units as cover or the?
Yes, sir. If in our hypothetical, if the person's behind it, they would have to shoot through the HVAC units to try to hit them.
Well, again, it depends on how they're holding the weapon.
You'd have. Okay, well, explain that to me.
Well, if the person's if they're holding it at the hip and the barrel's aimed up, they could get over those HVAC units fairly easy.
Well, unless you'd have to be 20 feet tall, right? I mean, what if the person is just regular height people? I mean, it doesn't lob. You can't. It's not a grenade, right? You can't lob a bullet that shoots very direct, right?
No, not. I mean, the trajectory is based on how the weapon's hold. You can. Well, I've seen many shootings where they hit the weapon and fired high. And a lot of their rounds were inaccurate because they had it at the hip and were shooting way high.
I'm not talking about inaccuracy. I'm talking about probability of hitting somebody because they're behind these HVAC unit. If someone's behind this HVAC unit, they'd have cover from the HVAC unit, right?
They would, yeah.
So the shooter would have to, the shooter would have to move out to the right of the HVAC unit, or however they're holding it, to try to shoot that person behind the HVAC unit, right?
If they were behind the HVAC unit, I would think so, yes.
Well, in my hypothetical, this person is behind the HVAC unit, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so like you're behind the desk. Let's say that desk is covered and I wanted to shoot you in the leg. If that's true cover and could protect your legs, I can't shoot your leg.
Probably not, no.
Well, if it's cover, I can't because I can't see your leg.
Yeah, well, it depends on if it's hard or soft cover. If it's hard cover, it would stop around, then yes, you wouldn't be able to shoot my leg. But if it's plywood or something or soft metal, then it would go through and you could possibly hit your target.
So you don't know this yet, but we've already explained to the jury the difference between cover and concealment.
Okay.
So the material, this is concealment. This is not cover.
Right, exactly.
Let's assume this is cover.
Okay, we're talking, okay.
If I wanted to shoot your legs, I'd have to move around to shoot your legs, right?
Yes, yes.
So same thing with these HVAC units. If there's someone behind the HVAC unit and I'm shooting from this place, I'd have to move around the HVAC unit to get line of sight on you to shoot you.
You would, yes.
That's right.
Yeah, that's correct, yes.
And so if that happened, and the shooter was further to the right, because in that hypothetical, that person is being shot at, we would see evidence of the person, the shooter, firing from the right.
It's possibly.
If someone made that claim, and you and I were prosecuting that case, what evidence would we present to a jury that somebody shot at someone behind that HVAC unit?
I guess we don't understand your question.
Would we bring shells and shell casings? Because we're making a claim that someone took a shot at them and they had a line of sight. If somebody was further to the right, should there be shell casings here if we're making a claim like that?
There could be, but again, ejection pattern analysis is not always accurate because if they manipulate the gun any kind of way, it can change that pattern. And if they're moving or the weapon's moving, then it can change that pattern. So it's possible, but I can't say for sure that would be an indicator of it.
Are you aware that there were shells found on this side of the building?
Yeah, my recollection, there was some there, and there was some on the other side of the gravel driveway, I believe, also that were marked.
What gravel driveway?
The one there, I believe.
No, sir, you're wrong about that.
Okay.
So it's just right here, right?
Okay.
Right on the edge.
Okay.
So that's my point. So
I'm
we
objecting,
found.
that's a misstatement of the law, of the facts.
All right, ladies and gentlemen,
No,
jury,
fine.
what the lawyers say in their questions is not to be construed as fact. So therefore, if it differs based upon your recollection, rely on your own recollection. Go ahead.
Thank you, Judge. And so, as we recall, we remember that there are shells up and down this,
Yes, sir.
kind of up and down the edge of the parking lot, right?
Correct.
Okay, so if there are shells on the edge of the parking lot, would the shooter be on the right hand of the shells or on the left hand of the shells, knowing that you know what kind of weapon was used?
Normally it would be on the left-hand side.
And why is that?
Because typically that weapon, or the most common ejection pattern is usually to the right and slightly rear.
Right. So, and it's called the ejection port.
It comes out of the ejection port, yes.
And so they've heard this already, but just to make sure you and I are on the same page, there's a long rifle with an ejection port. The magazine comes in, you chamber it, you have a trigger inside the trigger guard. Once you shoot, then the casing is discharged to the right, correct?
Yeah, when the bolt comes back, it's extracted and ejected usually to the right and maybe slightly rear. Kind of from if you're looking at a clock, the muzzle would be at 12 o'clock, the stock would be 6. Most of them are going to be at 3 to 4:30.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And so if the shells are here, roughly, I mean, they're a little bit, but there's a collection of them, you know that.
Yes.
Then you agree with me that the shooter is to the left of those shells, that shell line.
That'd be the most probable position, yes. Unless there was manipulation of the weapon, something like that. But the most probable position, if it was fired in a normal position, he would be to the left of that.
But there were no spent shell casings found out to the right in that open area, to your knowledge.
To my knowledge, no. Again, I didn't work the outside.
Okay.
I didn't work that. We went over to classroom 24 just based on some intel that there was the cartridge casings found out there. So we went out there just to make sure nothing was shot in that direction.
1 second, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Pass the witness, Judge.
Do you have any evidence that the shooter in this case
used this wrong trigger guard when he grabbed the gun?
Is that the one that the defense counsel was referring
The
to?
misfire? Yeah. Do you have any evidence in this case that the gunman, that the shots he fired were misfires?
Are we talking about misfire? Because misfire and accidental discharge are completely separate.
Let me ask about accidental discharge.
Okay.
What's your definition of an accidental discharge?
It's when the gun was fired when it wasn't intended to be. Somebody hit the trigger when they weren't intending to hit it, and the gun fires.
Is there any evidence in this case of the gunman engaged in an accidental discharge?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
And would you go back to that exhibit that you showed the jury? No, when you showed the jury.
And I believe the defense repeatedly said, if there are casings here, and you said you didn't recall that. Is that correct?
I recall when we were walking from seeing some flags for casings where I just don't remember the exact precise location, but I do remember casings being in that area.
Is this pavement?
Yes, it is.
Do you recall seeing any casings on pavement?
Not that I recall, no.
Okay, and how many times did the defense attorney ask you about casings being in this area on the pavement?
Judge, I didn't say that. I said the grass area behind the pavement.
He pointed right here, didn't he?
My understanding was he was talking about the grass area. That's what I was assuming. He was talking about the grass area.
Well, let's take a look at what the evidence shows, okay?
Sure.
Are there any casings on the pavement?
No, not that I see. Again, like I said, they were marked with flags, and we obviously can't stick a flag in asphalt, so they're on the grass.
And it's exhibits 112, 113, 111, those have been identified as being casings. Those are not on the pavement.
You're talking about the ones that are marked 12, 13?
Yes.
Yes.
And would you show the jury how far up the red flags go?
Looks like they go up kind of where the asphalt meets the concrete.
Would you approach the photograph and show the jury how far up those red flags go?
They go up to your little past that drainage, where the drainage goes under the sidewalk, and then they come across.
And from that position, is there a line of fire to the defect that you found in room 24 that you've been talking about today?
Yes, there is.
And evidence of an accidental discharge could be a defect high and away from any targets that could be shot at.
It could be, yes.
Right. So if you have evidence of a bunch of damage, like on the west side of Robb Elementary, and then you have what we call a one-off, right? A one-off high and above any potential target, that could be evidence of an accidental discharge as someone is swinging a rifle.
Yeah, I can't rule that out.
Right. Pass the witness, Judge.
And it could be evidence of somebody shooting from the hip.
It could be, yes. I can't rule that out either.
And have you said that you've seen people shoot high in these kind of shootings?
I have, yes.
So you do have evidence that people shoot high in active shooter situations?
Yes, yes.
Pass the witness.
No further questions, Judge. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
No, sir.
No, sir.
All right, sir, you're excused. The rule has been invoked. Don't discuss the case till you're aware the trial's over with, all right? Thank you very much.
May I have a point of clarification at the bench?
Okay. If you want to pull out the single photograph from each one and just bring them up, we can all look at them. Good afternoon. Would you raise your right hand? You do solemnly swear the evidence in the testimony given the cause will be the truth, so help you God. All right. Have a seat over here. Adjust that microphone if you need to. Mr. Turner, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Doctor, would you tell the jury your name, please?
Garrett Phillips.
Am I correct, you've been here since first thing this morning?
Correct.
Appreciate you being here. Could you tell us what you do for a living?
I'm the Deputy Chief Medical Examiner at the Bexar County Medical Examiner's Office.
And what is the Bexar County Medical Examiner's Office?
The Bexar County Medical Examiner's Office is a county office statutorily established by the laws of the state of Texas to investigate sudden, unexpected, and unnatural deaths within Bexar County.
And what is the Deputy Chief Medical Examiner?
Fundamentally, the Deputy Chief Medical Examiner is one of the staff medical examiners, which is to say a forensic pathologist who is involved in the examination of persons who have suffered sudden, unexpected, or unnatural deaths. The Deputy Chief part, however, comes with additional administrative duties that see me as second to the Chief Medical Examiner.
And further on definitions, you said both forensic and pathologist, is that correct?
Correct.
Could you start with pathology and what that is?
Pathology is a specialty of medicine. It is divided into two subspecialties, anatomic and clinical pathology. Anatomic pathology is the study of tissues removed from a human body. Those may be as small as individual cells in the case of cytopathology, all the way up to the entire deceased body, as in autopsy pathology. Clinical pathology is the study of fluids removed from the body and tested in a laboratory setting. That is ultimately the specialty of pathology.
And how does forensic pathology differ from pathology?
Forensic pathology is a subspecialty within that area of anatomic pathology that I mentioned. Forensic pathology does prominently involve autopsy pathology, and as I said, that is a subspecialty primarily involved with the investigation of sudden, unexpected, or unnatural death.
Could you tell us about your training that has qualified you as a forensic pathologist?
After completing my undergraduate studies at Baylor University, I completed my medical doctorate degree at Baylor College of Medicine in Houston, Texas. That was 4 years. Following that, 4 years of anatomic and clinical pathology residency, also at Baylor College of Medicine, and following that, a year of forensic pathology fellowship training at the Bexar County Medical Examiner's Office.
And when did you conclude all of that training?
2015.
2015?
Correct.
And so since 2015, what have you been doing?
From 2015 to 2021, I was an assistant medical examiner at the Harris County Institute of Forensic Sciences in Houston, Texas, and then I returned to be a deputy medical examiner at the Bexar County Medical Examiner's Office at the end of 2021. It was in the end of 2022 that I became the deputy chief at Bexar County.
And you said that as a forensic pathologist, autopsy is one of your primary tools?
That is one of the primary tools that we will use in investigating death.
And is that used in investigating cause of death?
Yes.
And how many autopsies have you conducted?
Between 2,000 and 2,500 as a staff, and that's going to include cases in which I supervised one of those forensic pathology fellows in training.
So both hands-on as well as supervising other pathologists?
The pathologist in training, correct.
Very good. And when an autopsy, an official report is presented, is that reviewed by other pathologists?
Yes.
And tell us about that review process.
In our office, each autopsy report is co-signed by the chief medical examiner. The exception, of course, is if the chief medical examiner performed the autopsy, in which case I will review that autopsy and co-sign it.
And so in reviewing somebody's autopsy, how do you do that?
When reviewing the autopsy from another individual, the key is going to be going through the autopsy report, going through all of the ancillary documentation such as the investigative report, and as well going through any photographs. Again, this is going to vary depending on the complexity of the case, but ultimately the review is geared towards whether or not you agree with the original pathologist's conclusion of cause and manner of death.
So when you said that a second person signs off, it's not just a matter of signing their name?
It is confirming that they agree fundamentally with that cause and manner of death.
And does that require reviewing both their findings as well as the photographs and to see if you agree with what they have decided?
Certainly at least the findings, yes.
At least the findings. And so that is a common practice of forensic pathology to review other pathologists' work?
That is our procedure at the office.
And can you tell us on May 24, 2022, did your office get involved in a number of autopsies?
We became involved.
And tell us about that. How did you become involved?
As I mentioned, our office is statutorily established to investigate deaths within Bexar County. On occasion, we may be requested and, depending on the circumstances, be able to assist with the examination of decedents who have died in other jurisdictions. In this case, our assistance was requested, and so we were able to fulfill that request.
And how many, approximately, were all of the autopsies in this case conducted by one pathologist?
No.
Was it a number of pathologists?
It was.
But is it my understanding you volunteered to step up and review all of those autopsies so that you could testify to this grand jury? This jury.
I did review these.
Okay. And after reviewing those autopsies, were you able to reach an independent opinion as to cause of death of each of the children involved?
Cause of death, yes.
And are you here to testify about those things?
Yes.
Okay.
And Your Honor, for the record, we won't have any objection to Dr. Phillips testifying on behalf of the work everybody else did, and of course the independent work he's done in that. So.
Thank you.
And if we could start with our state's exhibit 739, and I believe we're going to try to go
Is it my understanding that y'all labeled these children not only by number but also alphabetically so that you could keep up with them?
There was, based on my understanding, an initial alphabetical assignment. However, those were fairly rapidly, I would say, converted into more formal medical examiner case numbers that we will generate routinely within our office.
Okay. And did you take photographs then to identify these children both by number and alphabetically?
Yes, I believe that was done.
And so I would like to start with State's Exhibit 739.
Your Honor, if we could just, I mean, at this time, what they're about to show this jury is going to be incredibly distressing. We're just kind of starting into it. We just have a warning for them that they know what we're about to see.
And I don't mind explaining that, Your Honor.
Okay, go ahead.
As to these photographs that we're about to see, I just want to ease everybody's mind. These are not photographs of wounds, is that correct? There's been some things that have happened. Okay. Let me explain then. We are going to be limited. We are limiting our questioning to you and to the description of wounds in your opinion as to cause of death, which wounds caused death, which wounds did not cause death. But as far as photographs, we're not going to be showing photographs of those wounds.
I understand.
Fair enough? Which is not to say you didn't review those photographs. Is that correct?
Correct.
But nonetheless, we are going to show photographs of the child so that we may identify those children as per what the indictment requires. Is that fair enough?
Understood.
So we will have a photograph of both the child alive as well as a clothed photograph of just the face of the child. Fair enough?
Understood.
And you're familiar with those photographs?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so now if we could start with Exhibit 739, Uzziah Garcia. And we have him by both number, is that correct?
Correct.
And that's the number that your department assigned?
That's correct.
And initially there was an A by that name, and that was also a way the children were identified?
Initially.
Okay. And could you describe for us, let's start with the wound. Were there, did Mr. Garcia receive wounds?
Yes.
And were any of those wounds, did they cause death?
Yes.
And what type of wounds caused Mr. Garcia's death?
The most significant wound in this case was a gunshot wound that entered the back. That wound ultimately, most significantly, went through both lungs as well as the thoracic vertebral column, injuring the spinal cord. After having traversed both lungs, it did enter the abdomen and injure the spleen as well.
Okay. You talked about several organs here, and I just want to do it with the first child so we can get used to that, okay? Could you kind of go through the organs that you talked about it penetrated, what the function of those organs are, and why penetrating those organs would be a cause of death?
So in this case, going through both lungs is going to cause significant bleeding, and it's going to impair the ability to breathe. Going through the vertebral column and transecting the spinal cord is going to cause a loss of sensation and motor function below that level at the thoracic level. To clarify, there are several levels of the spine. The cervical spine is the neck, the thoracic spine is in the chest, and then the lumbar and sacral spine are in the abdomen and pelvis. So this was in the region of the chest. The splenic injury, the spleen is a vascular organ, and so that would be expected to also contribute to the bleeding in addition to the lung injuries.
And could you show us just generally on your body the general direction or pathway of that gunshot wound?
So this wound entered in the back relatively high here, and it's going to go across and end up in the abdomen somewhere around here.
And in your opinion, that a gunshot wound caused his death?
Yes.
And were there other wounds that he suffered?
There was an additional wound.
Could you describe that for us?
That was a entrance wound of the chest. However, only a projectile fragment was recovered, and that wound path was very superficial.
So it would not have led to death?
That wound was much less significant, and yes, I could envision that wound not leading to death.
Any other findings of significance to share with this jury?
There were some other apparent ballistic injuries or fragmentary impacts on other parts of the body.
And could you explain those for us?
Anytime a projectile fragments, which at least one of these fragments did, or anytime there are other projectiles that have been fired in the vicinity that have fragmented, those can bounce or ricochet off of nearby structures, or they can perforate nearby structures and cause blunt impacts to the body that would cause these sorts of ballistic fragmentary injuries.
And so whether the bullet passed through another object or ricocheted off of it, you can't say.
Not given these findings, I couldn't be more specific.
And also, as far as distance determination, are you able to determine how far a weapon was from a body when the body received that gunshot wound?
In some cases, yes.
And in this case, was it very limited, the times that you found somebody with a very close-up gunshot wound?
In this specific case, I could not definitively say that there was evidence of close-range firing. However, the reason that those other ballistic or fragmentary impacts can be important is because those can, on some level, mimic close-range firing, and so that will complicate the evaluation. So in this case, I do at least have those fragmentary injuries, but I don't have anything that I could definitively say was close-range.
And could you tell us how you determine distance and what the different levels of distance are when pathologists are looking at gunshot wounds?
Your Honor, I'm sorry, if I could make a recommendation just to reduce the secondary trauma that can be suffered. If we could just, we don't have to have the picture up while we're talking about distance and things like that. If we can have the picture, take it down, and then picture for the next one, I think it would be appreciated.
It's their case. However you want to proceed, Mr. Turner, go ahead.
Our problem is the PowerPoint just moves to the next child.
You can
I
click
guess
the
we
button. You can click the button and it goes on.
You can click it off. That's fine. That's fine.
Go ahead, proceed.
And we were talking about distance determinations. Can you tell how far a weapon was from the body when the body received the wound?
Correct. So in some cases that is possible. When a gun is fired, the bullet obviously is going to exit the muzzle of the gun. However, more than just the bullet will also exit the weapon. There can be particles of burning and unburnt gunpowder, as well as residues of combustion. If the gun is fired in close enough proximity to the skin, those additional items can sometimes impact or deposit upon the skin. And so those findings that we would most typically look for would be soot, which is an amorphous grayish black residue that is the products of combustion, that's the smoke coming out of the gun, or powder tattooing, which are relatively regular punctate abrasions that are caused by the burning and unburnt particles of gunpowder striking the skin and abrading it and embedding into the skin. Beyond that range, it is possible for gunpowder to deposit on the skin, although because it lacks mass, it can no longer abrade the skin. In addition, under those ranges, if the muzzle of the gun is actually directly in contact with the skin, we can see contusions, abrasions, or lacerations associated with the muzzle of the gun on the skin.
And is there a name for if the muzzle is on the skin?
That would be a contact wound.
And what are the other classifications?
The other classifications would be near contact, depending on how much you want to lump or split. Something that's relatively near contact would probably be expected to have soot. That is, and this is a very fuzzy number, somewhere in the vicinity of the first 12 inches away from the muzzle. Now again, many variables are going to affect the actual distance, so the only real way to get a harder number than what I'm providing is to test fire the actual weapon against a witness panel with the actual ammunition used. But again, as a rough guide, about a foot. For powder tattooing, somewhere in the range of 3 to 4 to 5 feet is where powder tattooing will cease. for gunpowder particulate deposition, a very broad range, anywhere from 9 to 21 feet, gunpowder particles can begin to cease being deposited on the skin. As we move beyond that, we will have no evidence of close range firing. Some people would call that distant, although it's also reasonable to call that indeterminate because, again, depending on many of these variables, there may be different reasons why you're not seeing evidence of close range firing.
Thank you very much. And so we had talked about the wound that caused death. We've also talked about a chest wound, and you were talking about this third kind of abrasive wound. Is that correct?
So in this case, there were the fragmentary injuries.
Fragment wounds. Next, turn to State's Exhibit 740. If you could display that. Mr. Rogelio Torres. And is that your autopsy number 1380?
Correct.
And is there a wound depicted in State's Exhibit 740?
A wound is seen.
And what's the nature of that one?
That is a wound that is adjacent to the right eyebrow.
Well, that was not a life-threatening wound?
In this case, that was described as a graze wound.
A graze?
Graze, correct.
Thank you. You can turn it up. Could you tell us then what your findings were as to Mr. Torres?
In this case, 12 gunshot wounds were noted. The injuries that were produced included the brain, the right lung, liver, right kidney, thoracic spine and spinal cord, as well as the right humerus, which is to say the long bone of the upper arm.
Okay. And each one of those wounds, those 12 wounds, were capable of causing death?
They're all potentially going to contribute. Of course, a wound that is traversing the brain is going to very likely be causative of death in the absence of the rest. However, if you take out, for instance, the wound traversing the brain, a combination of liver, kidney, thoracic spine, long bone fracture, and lung injury might well also be productive of death. But again, these were all collectively present, and so they were all considered as collectively causing death.
And any other non-life-threatening wounds?
Again, some of the other findings, such as the graze wound, would have been present. So there was the graze wound on the right eyebrow. There were some additional, less physiologically significant wounds that didn't cause major neurovascular organ injuries that were present.
Thank you. Exhibit 741, Miranda Mathis.
Yes.
Could you tell us what your findings are in regard to Miranda Mathis?
In this case, there were 12 gunshot wounds. The significant injuries included the heart, both lungs, the liver. There were injuries to the cervical spine and spinal cord, that is, again, in the neck, skull base fractures, and there were injuries to the larynx and trachea, that is to say, the windpipe, basically, as well as the pelvis.
And any non-life-threatening wounds?
There were some additional injuries that, again, the ones that I described are the ones that are sort of the most physiologically significant. There were some additional.
Let's just stay with those unless you find a wound that you consider significant as to whether or not it was a contact or close contact, something that would make it different from the other wounds you're describing.
So in this case, there were 3 of the gunshot wounds that in this case did demonstrate the gunpowder tattooing that were mentioned. And there was some additional gunpowder tattooing on the right hand.
And does that suggest range?
So this would be indicative of close range firing.
And that would be?
That would be the powder tattooing, so as we described it, the intermediate range.
And the distance would be about what?
As I said, somewhere in the vicinity of that 3 to 4 to 5 feet is when that begins to cease, so I would expect under that. But in order to get a better number, it would be necessary to test fire the weapon with the ammunition used.
So somewhere around 3, 4, or 5 feet away.
That's where it ceases.
And
So
within
if it's present, it's somewhere within that.
closer than that.
Correct.
Thank you. State's Exhibit 742. Alethea Ramirez.
Correct. In this case, there were 4 gunshot wounds. There were injuries to the brain, both lungs, the aorta, left femoral vein, the pelvis, and left femur. The femur is the long bone in the thigh, and an injury to the trachea.
And those were the significant findings.
Those were the significant injuries, yes.
And each of them were gunshot wounds.
Gunshot wounds, correct.
Thank you. Exhibit 743. Bea Bravo.
Correct. In this case, the decedent had 8 gunshot wounds. The significant injuries included the brain, the major neurovascular structures of the right forearm, and the left upper arm, and fractures of the right radius and ulna. Those are the long bones within the forearm.
And any of those sufficient in and of themselves to cause death?
Certainly the brain injury, yes.
State's Exhibit 744. Ileana Torres.
Correct. In this case, there were 13 gunshot wounds. There were injuries to the heart, the left lung, the left upper arm vasculature, the liver, the facial bones, cervical spine, and the left humerus.
And was it a combination of the wounds or just a single wound that caused the death?
In this case, the heart wound itself would probably have been sufficient, but the rest were significant as well.
Thank you. State's Exhibit 745. Layla Salazar.
Correct.
I've already taken
Sorry.
it down. That's
Could
okay.
I see that real quick?
Yeah, you can-
Just to confirm the number. Yes, thank you. In this case, there were 4 gunshot wounds. There were injuries to the left internal jugular vein, that is the major vein that brings blood from the head back to the heart. In addition to that, there were injuries to the left lung, the cervical and thoracic spine and cord, the tibia, which is the long bone in the shin, and there were skull fractures with intracranial bleeding, that is to say bleeding surrounding the brain, even though in this case the projectile did not traverse the cranial cavity. It went close enough to cause bleeding inside the head.
It passed enough energy in to cause bleeding inside the brain.
Correct.
746. Annabelle Rodriguez.
Correct. In this case, there were 5 gunshot wounds. The right carotid artery and jugular vein were injured. Again, the carotid artery takes blood to the brain. The jugular vein returns it from the brain. Both lungs were injured, and the thoracic spine and cord, as well as the larynx, were injured. Likewise, with the injuries to the cord, what you will sometimes see is that blood will then enter the cranial cavity. So there was some subarachnoid hemorrhage, which is a type of bleeding inside the head surrounding the brain.
Thank you. J.C. Uvalde, 747.
Correct. In this case, there were 3 gunshot wounds. The brain, the cervical spine, and the spinal cord were injured.
Thank you. And each of these were gunshot wounds?
These are all from gunshot wounds.
All the wounds that you've described for us are gunshot wounds, is that correct?
That's correct.
No other weapon caused any injury to this child?
None that was, no, it did not appear so. In fact, in each case, although we haven't specified it, projectile fragments were recovered associated with each autopsy.
Okay, associated with gunshot wound.
Part of the bullet, basically.
So that confirms for you that these are all gunshot wounds?
One of the things, yes.
Exhibit 748, Ileana Garcia.
Correct. In this case, there were 5 gunshot wounds. The skull was fractured, again with that same type of bleeding inside the head, subarachnoid hemorrhage. There were also injuries to the right axillary artery and vein. The axillary artery and vein are the major blood vessels that run from the chest into the arm.
Tess Mata, State's Exhibit 749.
Correct. In this case, there were 5 gunshot wounds. The internal injury was the brain.
Okay, could you explain that a little bit more?
Yes, there was an entry wound of the face that did traverse the cranial cavity. There were additional injuries of the back, buttocks, and left upper extremity. However, these did not cause significant internal organ injuries.
Thank you. Matthew Rodriguez, 750.
Correct. In this case, there were 3 gunshot wounds. The brain and the right lung were the major internal injuries.
Jayla Seguero, number 751.
Correct. In this case, there were 2 gunshot wounds. Both lungs were injured. The aorta was injured. The aorta is the major blood vessel that comes off of the heart and carries blood to the remainder of the body. And the thoracic spine was also injured.
Thank you. State's Exhibit 752, Amory Jo Garza.
Correct. In this case, there was 1 gunshot wound, which injured the heart, right lung, liver. Those were the major internal injuries.
It was just one wound, but it went.
Yes.
Could you just show us how that traversed?
Yes, that's correct. This wound entered the back about here, and it went from back to front. And as it went from back to front, it went through the lung, the heart, the liver, and then was recovered from within the body.
Thank you. 753, McKenna Elrod.
Correct. In this case, there were 4 gunshot wounds. The injuries included both lungs, the brachiocephalic artery. That is one of the major branches of the aorta in the chest that ultimately is going to split off into the right subclavian and the right carotid arteries and carry blood to the head and the right arm. In addition, the left femur, both tibias, and the trachea were injured.
Exhibit 754, Alexandria Rubio. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Go too quick.
Correct. In this case, there were 2 gunshot wounds. The major internal injury was the brain. The additional wound was a superficial gunshot wound to the back.
And State's Exhibit 755, Xavier Lopez.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Too quick.
Correct. In this case, there were 3 gunshot wounds. Both lungs were injured, as well as the thoracic spine and spinal cord. In addition, there was a wound that perforated the scalp. It did not go into the cranial cavity. However, it did cause bleeding inside the head, subdural and subarachnoid hemorrhage. Well, I should say, let me back up. It could have contributed to that bleeding. In addition, the injuries to the spinal cord lower down could have contributed to that bleeding.
Thank you. And is that the final report on the children that y'all did pathology on?
No, I have a couple more.
Of children or?
Yes.
Okay, could you share with us your next one?
My next one is case number 22-1399.
And can you tell us about that, and I'll come back to the name. My apologies.
Yes, in that case, there was a single gunshot wound that injured the heart, both lungs, and the aorta. This case also demonstrated soot.
And what does the soot mean?
So the soot is the close range firing that is, again, within that 1 foot distance.
Thank you. And your final autopsy?
The case number is 2022-1400.
Okay. And we'll provide those with a future witness.
Yes. In this case, we had a single gunshot wound. That was a wound of the head injuring the brain and skull.
And thank you for doing all the work that it took to make these findings. Let me ask you, if I'm pushing too far, I don't mind going to somebody more familiar. But as a pathologist and reviewing the photos in this case, are you comfortable testifying that these were all children under 15 years of age?
Judge will stipulate to it.
I believe we have a stipulation that these were all children under 15 years of age.
Yes, Your Honor, we will.
Pass the witness.
Okay, then court will take judicial notice of the stipulation.
Pass the witness.
Your Honor, I guess before I start, I just ask out of respect for the children and their families that this exhibit be sealed by the court, that it cannot be accessed by the public, that it stays with the court, because I believe that would be necessary to present.
I had already instructed the court reporter as to that, so.
Yes, Your Honor. I didn't know you had, but I appreciate you doing so. Dr. Phillips, you and I, we know each other, actually.
Yes, sir.
I'll tell you this, I hate to see you here, but I do appreciate what you did to document what that monster did to those children, and I'll pass the witness.
That's all, Your Honor.
Is he excused, not subject to recall?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Goss?
No, Your Honor, we don't need him for recall.
All right. Thank you, Doctor. Let me see. We're gonna take a short break, ladies and gentlemen, 10 minutes to take care of another matter. So remember my instructions. We'll see you back in 10. Would everyone rise for the jury? Let me know when you're ready. Okay, please be seated in the courtroom. State.
Your Honor, we do have the last two children that the pathologist talked about, and
Judge, we have talked to the prosecution. We've agreed to allow them to show the jury and to tell the kids' name.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, for identification purposes, they've agreed to allow the photographs to be shown without the pathologist testifying. He already did testify about them, but to just tie it up.
Yes, Your Honor, and I would be, if I could be clear, without waiving any previous objections that we've made, it's just in this circumstance, the situation, we're assuming the court would have the same ruling, and that's why we're making that accommodation.
Correct.
just 1 second.
These are photographs of Jacqueline Cáceres and Javier Lopez.
That we're displaying, Your Honor.
Okay.
And that was number 1399, and that's the last autopsy that the pathologist talked about, and then 1400. Thank you.
All right.
And it was 1400.
Javier Lopez.
Okay, thank you. Your next witness.
State calls Jennifer Lugo.
Your Honor, I do believe that the subject matter of this witness would go into a motion of limine that we've raised previously. I don't know if you'd like us to approach her.
We're just going to talk about the events that day. What
Well, if you'd like us to approach.
Okay. Come on up. Just 1 second, man. We'll get you right up here. Good afternoon. Would you raise your right hand, please? You do solemnly swear the evidence and the testimony to give in this cause will be the truth, so help you God. All right. Please have a seat over here. That microphone will adjust, so make it comfortable for you and try to speak up so everybody can hear you.
Good afternoon. Could you please state your name for the record?
Jennifer Garcia.
And Ms. Garcia, where do you currently reside? Don't tell me the address, it's the town and the county.
Uvalde, Texas.
Okay. And I'm going to take you back to the day of May 24th of 2022. On that day, did you have a child that went to Robb Elementary?
Yes, I had one.
And what was her name?
Ileana Amaya Garcia.
And where is Robb Elementary? Just to clarify for the record, is that in Uvalde County?
Yes.
Okay. And you dropped her off at school that morning?
Yes.
Okay. And was there something special about that day?
Just that they were having an awards ceremony for the end of the year, school year.
Okay. And was it a normal morning for you when you dropped her off?
Yeah, I mean, I have more other children, so I dropped them off, made my rounds, dropped her off, and then went home just to get ready for the awards.
And did you attend the awards ceremony that morning?
Yes.
And did she, in fact, receive an award?
She did. She received one. I believe it was like a helping kind of student award.
And were you there to see her get that award?
Yes,
And did y'all take pictures and all that?
we did. She took a picture with her sister and a picture with her with the certificate.
Now, at some point, did you hear that there was something happen at Robb Elementary?
Not at that moment, not until I went home shortly after.
Okay, so you left her at school that day?
I did. She wanted to come home. She asked if she could come home, but I told her no, to stay in school. Because after the awards, earlier that week, I believe we had gave the teacher $2. They were all going to pitch in for pizza and have like a movie fun day kind of thing. So I told her no, that she didn't need to come home for her to stay at school, and that I would pick her up later.
Okay. And at some point, so you returned back to your home?
Yes.
Okay. And at some point, did you return back to Robb Elementary School?
I did. After shortly getting home, not that long ago, a neighbor came and asked where my girls were. I told her they all went to school but one. And she's like, okay, well, you need to get to Rob ASAP. And I'm like, why? What's going on? She's like, there's something going on. They believe that there's a shooter at the school. So I just grabbed the baby, jumped in the car. I believe we both went barefooted. She met me there. She took the baby, and I just started running, and there was just chaos. I mean, there was already people, cops there. I mean, everything was just hectic.
And at some point, were you directed to the Civic Center?
Yes, well, shortly after waiting there, seeing what's going on, asking where my daughter was, we couldn't find her. Kids were just running everywhere. Kids were loading up on the EMS. Shortly after we couldn't find ours, they're all like, well, just check hospitals, but they redirected everybody to the Civic Center to wait for any updates, because they were still trying to get all the children directed that way.
Okay. And once you got to the Civic Center in Uvalde, what happened there?
It was just like we just had to wait for any updates. I mean, we waited there for a couple hours. Unfortunately, ours, I want to say we were the second, third to last parents. At the end of the day, about 9-ish, 10 to find out that one of our children was one of the deceased.
Okay. And who told you that your daughter had died?
I don't know. Was it? I don't think they were DPS. It was some officers that were in a room. I don't remember who they were.
Okay. And how old was your daughter when she passed away?
9.
And was her birthday coming up?
Yes, her birthday was supposed to be June 4th.
Okay.
The weekend after that week.
Okay. And again, state her name.
Ileana Amaya Garcia.
Thank you. Pass the witness.
Ms. Garcia, I'm so sorry for your loss. That's terrible. And I pray to God for his peace for you and your family. I'll pass the witness.
No more question, John.
Okay, is she subject to recall, or is she excused to remain in the courtroom if she so desires?
She's excused. We had talked about that, and I guess if we could approach on that, but for the moment, there was supposed to be an agreement, and I don't know if we've actually made that agreement.
Well, I mean, if she's not subject to recall, anyway.
Yep. Yes, Your Honor. There were some conditions that we had spoke about that I don't think we've actually revisited. But at this moment, we.
Well, ma'am, you've testified you're not subject to recall. At this time, it's up to you. You can have a seat in the courtroom or go about your business, whatever you'd like to do. All right? Thank you.
That was our last witness for the day, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to end a little early. We will resume at 9 o'clock on Monday morning. It's extremely important you remember my instructions, please. Don't read anything, watch anything, or listen to anything that may be in the media about the case. Don't talk to anybody about the case. Don't let anybody talk to you. Should some of you get here early and you're in the jury room without the other jurors, remember, don't talk about the case. Wait until all the evidence is in. Have a wonderful weekend, and would everyone rise for the jury? Okay, we'll be in recess till 9 a.m. Monday morning.